Last night, two LA sheriff's deputies were ambushed, sustained multiple gunshot wounds, are in critical condition, underwent surgery, and they're currently fighting for their lives. We don't know why the guy did it, but we do know that Black Lives Matter activists showed up to the hospital screaming, "You're next, and I hope they die," referring to them as two members of a notorious criminal gang. Just all around wishing death on two officers who were just sitting in their vehicle when someone runs up and shoots them. Donald Trump has slammed the shooting, which is good news. But I just got to say, man, it's worrying that this kind of thing persists, because for those of you that aren't familiar, the same thing happened in 2014 on my block, not even a block away from where I live. I look out my window. I could see this. A man walked up to a police car and he killed two cops. He shot them both in an ambush. He said something like, "You take one of ours, we take two of yours," or something to that effect. And at the time, we saw a bunch of activist organizations and high profile individuals condemn this, saying, of course it's bad. We don't wish this on police. But you know what? When you push the rhetoric, when you turn it into a spectacle, when you put it on TV, when you make it the story, when you make this the national rage, when your sports players are bending the knee and saying this country is racist, when you put out the 1619 Project, which is fake news, saying this country is a slaveocracy, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, sure. The high profile leaders can come out all day and night and say, we condemn this. We condemn this. And I can respect that. You're allowed to call out police brutality. I think police brutality is bad. I want police reform. But you've got this tsunami where you have these media companies and you have these personalities who realize we can make money off of this. And so they push and they push and they push. And then eventually some random person snaps. And then we see this again. Almost 6 years later, I lived on that street. The lights got shut off. I looked out my window and cops everywhere. The whole block was cut off. Cops told me I couldn't even leave my house. And do you know what one of the reactions from a rapper was? "I guess y'all can't breathe now either." I kid you not. There are some people who are just happy to see this happen. There are people who have who went to the hospital where these two, it was a mother, a 6-year-old and a 24-year-old man just sitting there. They didn't do anything to anybody. They're just cops. If you've got a problem with the system, we take it up with the system. But now we've got another one. And I can't say I'm surprised to see that Black Lives Matter marched to the hospital, essentially cheering for this. Man, you may notice I'm in a weird little room. It's because I'm getting away from the cities. Look, in 2014, I was sitting in my apartment and I was like blasting a loud movie or something, like eating a burrito on my couch. And I get a text message saying, "Are you near the murders?" And I don't know what murders. And they said, what was it? Tompkins and Nostrand, I think. And I was like, I live on that street. I live just like one street over, sort of. So I look out my window and I look to my right at the corner. You can see all the cops. You can see the vehicles. And I didn't even know I didn't even realize it happened. But when I realized what happened, that's when I was like, wow, man, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be around this. Because we at the time, this was, I traveled all around the world. I was covering Ferguson and stuff like that, and riots, Baltimore, all this stuff. I don't remember exactly when all this stuff was going down, but I know this was like post Ferguson. I mean, Ferguson happened, every few months we'd be back, and then I was talking to a friend, and I'm like, dude, you can't. It's like you can't escape it in these cities. I can travel all around the world covering the civil unrest, and then I come home. And it happens outside my apartment. And then I was just like, I need to get away from this. I don't want to be in the areas. I don't want this stuff to be happening where I live. And it's privilege, man. It really is. This idea that I can hop on a plane and parachute into one of these cities where this stuff's going down and cover it, and then go back and hide in my safe little haven. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And so after that, I decided I wanted to leave. So look, I don't want to rant on that too much. Let's actually just read the news so I can tell you what happened and show you this. Trump slams the shooting ambush of two LA sheriffs at Compton train station. as the work of animals that must be hit hard, as both officers fight for their lives and the FBI joins the manhunt. I hope, I wish the best for these officers. I hope they make it through this. This is what nightmares are made of, man. It's not just, look, I know cops get shot. I know these things happen, but at a time like this, the shooter is apparently at large. They say President Donald Trump called the man who opened fire on 2 LA deputies an animal who needed to be hit hard as the FBI was called in to help investigate the Saturday shooting. 2 Los Angeles sheriff deputies were shot in an ambush at a train station by a male suspect who then fled the scene, local outlets report. The 2 deputies, a male and female officer with the Transit Service Bureau, were shot at the Metro Blue Line station at Willowbrook Avenue and Oak Street in Compton. A male suspect got off a bus at the station and shot the deputies before fleeing the scene, KTTV reports. And you can see Trump's tweet, animals that must be hit hard. Here's a grainy image of the man fleeing. They say video released by the sheriff's department shows the suspect walking up to the car and immediately opening fire before running off. The gunman walked up on the deputies, opened fire without warning or provocation, the department said in a post. Both deputies sustained multiple gunshot wounds and are in critical condition, according to the department's Twitter account. They have had surgery, and Sheriff Alex Villanueva is at the hospital now. One has been described as a married 31-year-old mother of a 6-year-old boy. The other deputy is a 24-year-old male. During the press conference, Sheriff Villanueva said that the 2 deputies initiated radio contact after they were shot. Man, they were transported with assistance of other deputies. All right, it's time to get mad. I'm already mad enough about this because I've seen it. I've seen it. Black Lives Matter mob swarms hospital where deputies were being treated after being ambushed, threaten police at scene saying, "You're next." This is from the Gateway Pundit. I always say this when I read Gateway because I am not a fan of Gateway, but this, again, it's Cassandra Fairbanks, and I trust her. And this is all backed up by video evidence of which I've seen and corroborated myself. So this is just a good aggregate of just the callousness, the depravity of this. These people don't care, man. I can say it a million times. When Jacob Blake got shot several times, I am upset by that. I don't want people getting hurt. I can say it a million times. George Floyd should not have died. There's new information coming out there, but I don't care. I don't want anyone to die. I don't want anyone getting shot. These people are cheering for this. I am sick to my stomach waking up and seeing these stories. I can't even begin to imagine what it must be like for their families. But to see a story like this, how dare these people, man? This is why I hope Trump wins. And I hope the Democrats realize they will reap what they have sown with this. This is unacceptable. A Black Lives Matter mob swarmed the hospital where 2 deputies were taken for treatment after being ambushed and shot. They blocked doorways, threatened officers at the scene, and attempted to force their way inside. And I'm just going to jump straight to it. The LA County Sheriff's tweeting, to the protesters blocking the entrance and exit of the hospital emergency room yelling, "We hope they die," referring to 2 LA sheriffs ambushed today in Compton. Do not block emergency entries and exits to the hospital. People's lives are at stake when ambulances can't get through. Yeah, that's all on video. I didn't believe it. When I saw this headline, they're yelling, "You're next," I said, no way. No way. We are not. Yeah, we absolutely are. They say, as Gateway Pundit previously reported, 2 LA Sheriff's County deputies and a man and a woman are in surgery fighting for their lives after each was shot in the head during an ambush by a lone gunman at a metro station in Compton. They were shot multiple times, to my understanding. Happening now, we are at St. Francis Hospital where 2 pigs have been brought to be repaired after being shot in the head, all right? Sickening. Absolutely. The activists, who have widespread support from Democrat politicians and nearly every major corporation, did chants wishing death upon the officers after they arrived at the hospital. How about each and every one of these athletes who stood there chanting, cheering for this, can now answer for it? How about we get them on the record? How about we get them to speak up against it? Approximately a dozen of them were at the scene, celebrating the shooting and threatening officers, Cernovich tweeting. 2 police officers were ambushed and shot. Far left-wing protesters went to the hospital where officers were to receive treatment. They wished death on the officers and blocked an entranceway, all on video. They also threatened officers at the scene, saying, "You're next." That, I couldn't believe it. They really do. There's some officers standing here, and one of them has what looks like a riot weapon of some sort. Looks like the 40 millimeter, I think it is, like gas or foam round. And they're yelling, you don't need it. You don't need that weapon. And they're saying, "You're next." They said, "This is why it happens. You're next. You're next." Bro, you went to a hospital. It's not just the cops who are inside. It's the little kids who are inside. It's the parents who are worried. It's the dude who broke his arm. It's the guy who just had a heart attack. And you have the nerve to show up because you don't like cops and put everyone else at risk. And the nerve of these corporations and the nerve of all of these outlets that prop up this message. Bravo, you deserve a standing ovation for this. This is you. I'm sick of this, man. To the protesters, look, I don't care about politics. I don't care about any of it. I care about the fact that two people are fighting for their lives and they shouldn't have to be. If you got a problem with the system, we fight the system. We take it up in the courts. We take it up with legal action. You do not win this way. This will backfire. This is what I cannot stand about how the far left goes about their activism. When you show up and shoot cops, you know what happens? People vote Republican, they vote Trump, and they demand law and order. And you get more, not less. If you want to go out, act a fool, and shoot people, then you know what? You justify the armed guards standing on street corners. Look at what happened in Chicago after the looting and rioting. There were cops everywhere. Who wants to live like that? I don't. But you want to go out and say, we don't like the system, so we're going to go shoot people. We're going to go smash everything. Justifying everything they said, everything they do. And you will get people screaming, "Save us." And you know what the government's going to say? Lock it down. I do not want to live that way. So y'all need to back off because all this is going to do is escalate and make everything worse. It's like I call it the Chinese finger trap problem, that the response to this is a harsh response in the wrong direction. It's people coming out screaming justice. And then even when they get the government making changes, they've already defunded police at like 129 departments. What do? They scream more. And then instead of backing off and saying, "Yo, we didn't want this," they say, "We did." That's the thing. It's like, bro, you won, man. You got every corporation on your side. You got every athlete, not every, but most of them. They're bending their knee to you. The governments are taking money away from cops. You won. What else do you want? They want to cheer for this. They want to cheer for people who are on the verge of death. A mother, she's got a kid she's got to go home to. Look, I know this doesn't represent literally every single Black Lives Matter activist. And I know many of them are going to come out and condemn this because people don't want this. But you know why I'm not doing it? You know why I'm just not having it? Because I witnessed the aftermath of the 2014 police ambush in New York City. And when they came out and said, "We didn't want any of this. We didn't mean for any of this." And then some people cheered it on. Here we are now, 6 years later. What happens again? Yeah, apparently you don't get it. Apparently you don't. They keep doing the same thing. And it's really funny to me because the left will say that there's rhetoric and riling up of the far right and the extremists. You're damn right there is. I don't like those people either. And you know what? The feds are going after them. And the corporations aren't supporting them. Could you imagine this? All that far right rhetoric that's popping up on all of these different platforms. And they say that this encourages people. It exacerbates the problem. Fine, sure, whatever. I'm for free speech. All right. My issue here are the individuals who are screaming, "You're next." All right. You have free speech. By all means, go ahead and say it. And I'll respect your right to say it. And I'll tell you, y'all are crazy. Saying that I hope they die and things like that. All right. Fine. Say what you got to say. But right now, here's the problem. You can talk about the radicalization of the right. And they cry and complain. I remember this one tweet. They were like, "We begged you. We begged you to make it stop. But you let the hate speech happen. And now look. Here we are, baby. You put the hate speech on corporate billboards. You put it on the floor of the NBA. You put it in the stadiums of the NFL. You put it on every TV channel, and they put Jacob Blake's name on. He put his name. One of the players put Jacob Blake on his helmet. A guy wanted on a felony warrant for assaulting a woman, and this guy gets his name plastered up. You know why? because there's no such thing as a criminal. No, not to these people. The general idea is you can do no wrong, I suppose. So what do we get come next? What's the next thing that happens? Are you just going to keep doing it? Man, I can't believe this. You're next. I don't even want to look at this. They tell us what happened. Gateway says 2 sheriff deputies were shot. I want to take you back in time, and I want to show you this all about. First, I want to show you this tweet. They say moments ago, 2 of our sheriff's deputies were shot in Compton and were transported to a local hospital. They are both still fighting for their lives, so please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. We will update this thread with information as it becomes available. I hope they put up a GoFundMe or something. I hate GoFundMe. We need something else. Just use something else. Some kind of donation thing for these people. I hope they make it through. And if they don't, I want to make sure that their families get taken care of. Dude, that's true for George Floyd made millions of dollars. Jacob Blake got millions of dollars. I'm totally fine with that. These guys were, to varying degrees, criminals, but I don't care. I don't care. I don't want people getting hurt. Now, look, Jacob Blake fought with the cops. He was wanted on a felony warrant. He fought with the cops. That's a different story. George Floyd maybe had drugs. Still, I don't want people to suffer. You know, and I'll tell you this, man, on the drug stuff, I'm pretty libertarian on all that stuff. So I don't want the George Floyd thing is a tragedy. It is. We'll see how all that plays out. But I want people to be able to take care of their families. And I don't know, maybe I'm too easygoing on that. I'm too I don't know what the right word is, not harsh enough on people who do bad things. I bring you now back in time to the 2014 killings of New York City police officers. You want to know why this matters? These officers weren't white dudes. It was Officer Rafael Ramos, and it was Wenjian Liu. Wenjian was the only son of Chinese immigrants. He and his family came to the U.S. from Taishan, Guangdong in China when he was 12 years old. He was a 7-year veteran officer of the NYPD who had married Pei Jiashen in October 2014. He had just married her. She was able to have a kid. They were able to salvage some of his biological matter, in a matter of speaking. But I know it's kind of gross, whatever. But I'm glad to see that he was able to carry on his family. It's a horrifying story, man. But let me show you the game's reaction. I guess y'all can't breathe either. Do you think that these people mean it when they say they're sad about this? I think some people, they're high-profile individuals who are just playing a game. And then when things get bad, they're like, whoa, oh man, this is too much for me. I didn't mean that. They think they can come out and they can say all of these things and plaster this message everywhere, and you won't get a lunatic to run up to a cop, shoot him twice. And we don't even know if there could theoretically be other shootings where we just don't know if it was actually like let's say there's cops engage with somebody, it's not an ambush and they have a firefight, and for all we know the motivation for the crime or the confrontation really was this rhetoric. And regardless of that, all this rhetoric we see about Black Lives Matter, it creates a paranoid state for a lot of people. They fear and they hate cops. Bro, when I see a cop, I don't freak out because I understand the media is full of it. I see cops, say, how's it going? Like any other person. Now, when you're driving in your car and you see a cop, you got to slow down, go the speed limit. You know what I mean? But I got no worries about cops, none whatsoever. I mean, to be fair, you gotta understand. You gotta know your rights. You gotta know how to act. Don't resist if you're being detained or whatever, and don't talk without a lawyer. Keep your mouth shut. Keep yourself safe. If the cops are doing their job, they got to do their job. Well, you got your rights. You got to do yours. All right. I see cops walking down the street. I don't think twice. In fact, I'm not scared when cops are around, even though I know there have been instances where cops have shot people accidentally. I'm not worried about it. It just the media wants to take stories and they want to hype them up to an extreme degree. And they want you to, if it bleeds, it leads, man. You guys really got to watch the movie Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. And I mean it, man. Because when you see how they portray this nightly news director for a local station, and she's like all excited for the blood and the gore. I'm telling you, man. And there's a guy who's like, can we show this? And she's like, shut up. So the game walked things back. All right. To be fair, this was back in 2014. He says, I guess y'all can't breathe either. They're still saying I can't breathe. That's still their slogan. And that was his reaction. That was just the mask slipping. And I think, to be honest, a lot of these people who are saying, oh, we don't want this to happen. Oh, we're so sad. I don't buy it, man. I really don't. And it bums me out. I think there's a lot of people on the left and the right who secretly want violence, but they'll pretend like they don't. They'll make jokes, but they'll pretend that they don't. And these are the people we got to keep in check. We got to tell them no. We got to find out who this guy is. We got to stop him. The dude in 2014 took his own life. So I'll tell you this. I'll wrap up with just one final thought on all this. Take a look at this story. More than 100 Black Lives Matter protesters shut down George Washington Bridge in Manhattan and then violently clashed with NYPD outside their precinct on another chaotic night in NYC. Do you guys realize what's going on right now? Like, come on, man. You got 2 people shot. Now, I get it. Many of these people are probably out there protesting before that shooting happened, but this is a contributing factor. I'm all for protest. You know, if you want to go out and protest, I'm not going to blame you. I'm going to blame the murderer. I'm not going to blame guns. I'm not going to blame, speech. This guy was a lunatic, and that guy is responsible. When I bring up the stuff about speech, I'm trying to point out the hypocrisy, not to say that people should have a right to protest. You do. But you got to understand what comes next. You go out in these protests and you're fighting with cops in this way, and these cops just heard. Dude got shot. What do you think these cops are going to be thinking? Yeah, it might not be you doing your peaceful protest, having a good time, but it could be that one crazy person, man, who comes out and puts some live rounds in people. I'll leave it there. On a side note, you may have noticed, maybe it sounds a little different if you're listening to the podcast, or it looks different because I'm actually, I'm in a closet. It's got a window. It's actually kind of an office, but it's because we're doing a temporary setup right now. We're expanding and I'm doing some speed testing and stuff like that. So I have to actually do work outside of the house to set up the new studio and everything. And this was the best place to actually film segments. So there you go. Man, I hope all this simmers down. I hope everybody chills. I hope after this election, it's calm again. But when I look back to 2014 and I look at all these other circumstances, all these other incidents, it just feels like we're ticking forward. You know what I mean? But I wish the best for these officers. I hope they make it through this one. I hope they have full recoveries, and I hope we can help out in any way. The same as we did for all these other victims. They got tons of money. All right, this dude who got his business burned down, he got a good payout. I'm glad to see that we can turn a day of pain into something happy. If these cops end up walking away with several $1 million and they go and they get to become wealthy and just be independently wealthy from now on, they deserve it, man. Nobody deserves to get shot like this and to be lying there dying, calling in on the radio, begging for help. Man, it's tough. I'll see you on the next segment coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out.